and you guys are good to go.
All right. What's up, y'all? My name is Ian Edwards, and welcome to the Soccer Comic Rant. If you want to check this podcast out, go to YouTube, hit like and subscribe. When you type in Ian Edwards or Ian Soccer Comic Rant Edwards, and you can watch it there. Or if you're already listening, you can listen to it at Art19, iTunes, and a bunch of other streaming platforms, including at allthingscomedy.com. And if you go to allthingscomedy.com and listen to it there are a host of other podcasts there with some of the best comics in the country / world doing their own thing, doing their own podcast here. There's Sam Tripoli with the Tinfoil podcast, Tiger Belly with Bobby Lee, Breaking Bread with Tom Popper. There's Bill Burr's podcast. There's the Bert and Bill podcast with Bill Burr doing another podcast with Bert Kreischer. There's Cameron Esposito, Teenage Self. The list goes on. Eddie Pepitone, Danish and O'Neill. Just basically and literally some of the best goddamn comics in the world doing podcasts. I think Bert has another podcast with Tom Segura. So what else you want me to say? Go to allthingscomedy.com for all your podcast needs. And the sponsor for the show is onthevolleyapparel.com. They got soccer gear there with hip hop soccer logos and emblems mixed on the front of their merch. And if you use my promo code ComicRant, you get 20% off. So if you use my promo code ComicRant, you get my 20% discount. And it's Christmas time, and they got tees, tanks, hoodies, and jerseys and hats for men and women. So go to onthevolleyapparel.com and hook yourself up. And they will also outfit your local soccer team. So boom. And also my guests, some are going to be happy with this podcast, some ain't. We'll figure that out. And to my top left is Neil Chakravarty, comic living in San Diego, Chelsea fan. What up, Neil?
What up?
Well, you sound like you lost. You should be good.
No, I just want to see the smile on Martin's face because I feel like he's feeling
You're seeing it.
No, it's not even got something to do with either of our clubs. It's just that the common club we both hate is going through a really rough patch right now.
The what?
It's just that the club we both hate is going through a very rough patch right now.
Oh, so
Who's that? Who's that? Arsenal?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to give you props, but I will get to it.
Well, yeah. Arsenal's misfortune is the only thing keeping Martin alive after getting 1 point out of 9 available.
Pretty much.
So give it up for Martin.
Oh,
Harris,
we're doing it already.
Writer for 442 magazine. And you've seen him in a ton of movies, especially even this fall called The Hunt. And he's just shot another one last week. And he's a voice of a lot of video game characters you could kill, including in Grand Theft Auto and other games. Give it up for Martin Harris. What up, Martin?
Good to see you guys. So many things to talk about. And finally, I have a chance to do a podcast with Neil. And I have to ask you, Neil.
But you have to wait, bro. Because we got a limited amount of time and we're going to get to it. You know what I'm saying? And the form your team is in, you can't take over this podcast. You have no right.
All right, buddy. All right. Take the lead.
Assume your position in the table in the podcast, bro.
What Ian is saying is you got to wait for the counterattack.
I wish I knew a week ago or 2 weeks ago, but okay, that's the rule.
Listen, I got it. Yeah, you should have just seized control. And I did let you run with things, so it's fine. But listen, I want to kind of speed things up, and I want to talk about all the teams and everything that's going on. And Merry Christmas, everybody that's listening.
Yes,
happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa, happy Krampus, happy Hanukkah, and whatever the Muslim version of Christmas is. Happy, and all the religions, peace and love. Hope everybody have fun. But I figure if we just go down the top of the table, we can nail a bunch of things at the same time and cover everything. So you guys want to do that? So
sure, yeah.
We'll start with the top. Top team is Liverpool, and they annihilated Crystal Palace 7-0 on, I don't know what day it is. It was on the weekend, but Jesus Christ, what did you guys think of Liverpool's putting away of Crystal Palace, a team the week before? Did they beat Spurs or tie with Spurs?
They tied with Spurs, but because Chelsea is higher, I will let Neil first.
Well, they tied with Spurs, and it's so crazy that a goalkeeper who was man of the match last week, like stood on his head, right? Let 7 goals in less than a week later.
You can't even blame him, and you can't even blame him that much. You know,
maybe 1 goal, but that's it.
And he actually made like 2 or 3 good saves in this game. But Neil, you're higher at the table. You go first.
I actually had to look at it right now because I didn't realize we had Spurs on the table. But I mean, I think Liverpool, because Spurs were contending for the title like a few days I just never assumed that is even possible.
I know 1 week ago, everybody's like, could Spurs be title contenders?
Listen, guys, we're all contending for the title that will be won by Liverpool at the end.
I agree. I
feel like we're all contending for second place.
Correct. Yeah. I think a few, like, when the whole Van Dijk injury and stuff happened, I that's what I said that time, that the league title is basically a title challenge between Liverpool and Liverpool without Van Dijk. And so it took them a while, I think, to get their paces going. But you're seeing now, I think the Spurs win is it was a very important win for Liverpool, because that's the kind of win that you associate with the Klopp's team. Because that game, I think, and credit to Martin's team, I think that game, if it had finished either a 1-1 draw or a 2-1 win for either team, it would have been fair. So
it would have been what?
It would have been a fair result. Like any 3 of those results would have been a fair result. A narrow win for either side or a draw. But the fact that Liverpool actually, got that win over the line, I think the belief right now, some of the younger guys playing for them too, I'm sure the belief is really sky high. And the fact that 7 goals, it's going to happen. With Liverpool, every season, you're going to have a few of these games because they're the most clinical team in the league. And I think Spurs is also up there in terms of being clinical with Kane and Son. But the difference is it kind of stops there. So Liverpool also, not just are they clinical, but they also create in a lot of volume. Whereas Spurs, their style of play is like, we work with what we have, and then when we get those opportunities, we're going to make it count. I think Liverpool can do both sides, and everything came together. I think it was really interesting to see that they started with Minamino up front, and I think he's been one of those guys who, if you look through Klopp's recruitment, it's kind of a hit. But Minamino has been one of those guys where, it's been a slow burn. He's not really gone anywhere so far, not done a lot of note. So I'm sure like a game like this where he's playing, I think he started the scoring, right? He got the first.
Mane to Minamino.
So I'm sure like now he feels, at home, and they need such a guy because now with Jota out, they're now down to that front 3, which have always worked great for them. But then you wonder like what happens when if there's an injury to any of these. So somebody like Minamino can play his role as a squad member filling in. I think that's something that Klopp and Liverpool fans should take a lot of confidence from. And I think now you see like the league table has been in a lot of flux. I think for all of our teams, it's still in a lot of flux. But you see now Liverpool kind of like pulling away. And I won't be surprised from everybody, pretty much. I think Well, I know you guys have the game in hand, but Leo, let's be serious.
Yeah, let's be serious. Let's be very serious.
So I kind of feel like they are gonna, and this was their test, right? Like if they can, when they lost Joe Gomez and Van Dijk, can they actually have a bunch of good defensive performances, which they have. Now, can things come together with Trent Alexander-Arnold coming back? It's very important for them to have both Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, because that's where they're, unlike other teams who create,
that's their midfield.
Maybe through midfield. Exactly, that's their midfield. That's their creative hub. So I think they did a good job. They probably dropped a few points, which is fine. It happens to every team in the season. But good thing is they didn't lose games. So they just held forth. And now you can see, like, the Avengers are coming back and they're doing the thing. I mean, Crystal Palace, in a game like this, I don't think there's a lot of difference between a 4-0 and a 7-0. Because and initially actually Crystal Palace didn't really have a bad game.
No, they didn't.
They were creating a few chances and they had a lot of the ball. They could have actually gotten a few goals back.
Could have been 2-1 Crystal Palace at the beginning of the game.
Exactly. So I don't think anything has changed in like if I was a Crystal Palace fan, I'd be like, okay, just write off this game and let's go ahead with the rest of the season. But I think this is the game where everybody is like, wait, all the talk that we had about, oh, this is going to be an actual title challenge season and stuff, I think that's been tempered a lot. And it can actually play a big demoralizing effect on somebody like, Chelsea, Spurs, who were looking to, maybe, especially Spurs, like, second season is the Hail Mary for Jose Mourinho. So you wonder if it doesn't happen, or if he can't even keep pace, how are things gonna, are the wheels gonna fall off like they often do in the third season? So this is a big season for a lot of these teams. Like Lampard's unproven, Solskjaer's is like, keeps playing David and Goliath week after week. So I think it can have a demoralizing effect, just that scoreline, and a lot of these other teams too.
Unless you won 6-2. But go ahead, Martin.
Well, first of all, Neil, the only clinical Tottenham is they will if they have another week like that, they will put me in the clinic. So that's the only clinical regarding Tottenham. But talking about Liverpool, I believe that in football, in soccer, you have phases. Like it's technically doesn't make sense. It's more spiritual than real. But it kind of happens. Like there was a moment when Mourinho was the manager, the best manager in the world, and his style was winning everything. Then Guardiola was the next in line, and now it looks like it's Klopp. I think he built a system that works.
What about Zidane?
Zidane was the right guy in the right club, and they won trophies, but he was never well regarded as a top manager in the game. I
think it's a mistake not to regard him as a top manager. Because he's winning. Go ahead.
Do you think he's got such an impact, like a personal impact, personal touch on the team?
Yeah.
Like Klopp, Mourinho, Guardiola had?
Yeah. Because especially last season, if you had any doubts, which I don't know why anybody would have any doubts, because he just won 3 Champions League last season, nobody expected that team without Ronaldo to win La Liga, a trophy they haven't won in a while. And he did. Now, at the end of the weekend, they were tied at the top of the league with Atletico, but Atletico played a game today, so now Atletico is top of the league. Mm-hmm. But to think that Zidane is not a good coach at this point in his career.
No, he is a good coach.
But to think he's not the next great coach is mystifying to me.
Yeah, it's true. He's kind of under the radar as a coach because he's not as big of a personality, I guess, as let's say Klopp or Mourinho. But just talking strictly about England, let's just narrow it down to England. I think it's just his time. he has a perfect system that is working, perfect players to work in that system, in Salah, Mane, Firmino, who started scoring again, Henderson. Like, everybody knows what they need to do, and they're interchangeable. Like, even their defensive game wasn't that bad. Like, they played young guys against Spurs, and those young guys did their job defensively.
Yeah, they didn't even use, was it Williams in the back, or what was the name of that young black kid they used defensively? They didn't even play him. Yeah. And then they also have the Phillips guy.
Nat Phillips, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, Klopp raises the level, man, when he coaches. I don't know if you're done, Martin. If you're done, I'll jump in. Just let me know.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But he just raises the level of people, and I'm happy for Minamino finally scoring. Some of the stuff I wanted to say was, like, it's funny to see a game where by the end of the month, on Match of the Day, when they give you the candidates for goal of the month, like, where all the goals will probably, if not half of them, come from that game. Yeah. Like even when you surprise your coach and he's on the sideline, like high-fiving another player going, where did that come from? Like, that is some shit right there. And, you know, they just have some of the best, aggressive, hungriest players like I've ever seen. Like, and they're playing like for me, like my guessing of how Liverpool was going to do this season was, I know they got the ability, but that ability is nothing without the hunger. And the fear for the league is the players still have that hunger. They act like they didn't win last year, you know, the last few games. Like, and I think the game against you guys helped them, because you guys came into this game as title contenders, and I think they're very insulted by that.
Technically still are, you know, but...
Yeah. And I'm not sleeping on any team. Like, there's pundits, and like, I told you this over the phone. I say, this is funny. Everybody wins the league several times within the season, because based on somebody's win, even if you don't finish, first of all, there's different teams finishing top of the table every week. And everybody, or every pundit, treats any team that finished top of the table for a certain week as if they've won the title. So even if you never win the title, your fans know what it feels like that week. If you finish top of the league, or if you're like Southampton, who are second one week, the elation you feel for that week, and because fans are so emotional, like, there's no difference between finishing first at 38 games or finishing first with 13 games in. Like, the fans that feel like they won, and the pundits treat you as if you just won a title. So Spurs has actually experienced winning the title like a week ago. And Man United fans, after our win, it feels like you just won a title, but we're nowhere. We're just for us, we're 13 games in. Some teams are 14 games in. But
yeah, and it's funny because everybody's saying that Solskjaer is a genius and he outcoached Bielsa, and a week ago everybody wanted to fire him after he got eliminated from the Champions League.
Yeah, because they act like the season's over.
Yeah,
like the same way they celebrate somebody at the top of the league. By the end of that week, like, depending on where you are, they act like the season's over, and there's the new season. Next game is a new season, and it's time to get a new coach for the new season.
Yeah, and I think this season will be the most chaotic season probably of them all, because so many games and there's no rest and there's no fans, or very barely any fans. You know, there are some fans, but I think it's not going to be the case for the next couple of weeks with the new mutant virus being in London and shutting down the whole city. Some of the stadiums were not bringing fans anyway. Like in Manchester, you didn't have any fans.
No.
But I think it's just because there are so many games being played. Teams like Liverpool, even with few players out, but they do have a large roster.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Yeah, and they also have a familiarity between themselves, you know. So those teams will be slightly favored, but we'll see a lot of changes. We'll see a lot of, you know, weeks where one team is having a bad week, and then the next week is another team has a bad week, and someone has a great week, and pundits will go crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and then one more thing on the Liverpool game is, well, two things. Next week, their opponent is West Brom, so I want to pour a little something out for West Brom, and you all know what that means. And
Sam Allardyce.
I want to pour a little something out for Sam Allardyce. Sorry, Sam. And
Sam's here.
And but the other thing I want to say that you guys just reminded me is, like, when Martin was talking about like where Klopp is as the next great manager, when Klopp was at Dortmund, right? His team was a selling team. So he had a limited window where his players could be successful before they were sold to the best team in the league or other teams in the world. Now he belongs to an apex franchise where he does to other teams in the league what Bayern Munich used to do to his team. Like, he has no fear, none of, and the coronavirus actually helps his case and helps him keep his best players. He has no fear of being picked apart, and he's picking other teams apart in the league. So good luck to everybody. And I'm not saying Liverpool's going to win it, because I still think after 10 more games, I'll be more sure if Liverpool is going to win it. But this is very dangerous to be. And
listen, they keep buying. There's a rumor they're going to bring another Southampton guy, Vestergaard, to play as a center back for them.
Center back?
Yeah.
Shit.
And somebody made a comment that it would be cheaper for Liverpool to just buy Southampton as a club instead of keep spending for Southampton players, you know.
Yeah, just play Southampton as their under 23 team.
The academy.
Yeah, they play as their academy. So let's slide down to Leicester and their dismantling, 2-goal dismantling of Tottenham. So we get you know, we're sliding through. And Martin, what did you think? What happened, bro? How did you lose to Leicester 2-0?
Well, let's start with the first game of this bad week, which was the game against Crystal Palace. And I think, you know, we made a mistake. You know, like, I'm pretty positive about Mourinho in general, but if there is one game he made a mistake, that was this game. Because when we scored first goal for 1-0, we did the thing that was actually good for us so far this season, where we went back and started playing counter-attacking football. Where Crystal Palace, as we've seen in the game against Liverpool, they're very bad defensively, but they're not that bad offensively. They actually can attack. They have some attacking power. And to give them field to operate was a mistake. You know, we should have punished them and win this game easily 2-3-0. And then at the end, we lost the goal. Even if the goalkeeper was their goalkeeper was the best player, and we had chances, you know, still those 2 points were a big loss. Looking back, then the Liverpool game, I think the strategy was good. I'm not blaming him for that game. We gave away possession, but it's not like we're in mid 2000s where possession was dictating the outcome of the game. We're not in tiki-taka era anymore. So I think it's the most overrated stat, you know, like who has possession, who doesn't have possession. We had better chances in the second half. Even if they played better, we had better chances, and we could have and should have scored a second goal, and then the outcome would be different. We probably would have conceded at the end because they're too good as a team, Liverpool, but it would be 2-2, not 1-2. So that, and I think that game and the way it ended impacted the game against Leicester. And obviously, moment of madness from Serge Aurier, not the first one. He's, you know, easy guy to hate. Even he played solid this season. I can remember him conceding free kick against West Ham in the stoppage time. He actually conceded also the corner against Liverpool where they scored the second goal. And then now he does this, you know. I think still.
How can you blame him for conceding a corner though?
No, it's just a stat. It's just a major. It's just a stat.
Yeah, but you can't like it's either concede the corner or give them the cross. Like you can't unless it's a mistake. That doesn't even count. That's being picky. I know.
Yeah, I'm being picky.
I know he's your Willian. You know, every team has. But come on, man. Come on.
No, but the Leicester thing is inexcusable.
The Leicester thing, for sure, 1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah, that changed the game because otherwise I think it could have ended 0-0 because we looked lethargic. We looked like we were impacted by the game against Liverpool, but it had 0-0 written all over it.
But I told you,
if he didn't make a mistake.
I told you, to be champions, you're the way you guys play is it's how you secure third and fourth and a Champions League spot. It is not how you win a title when you got a team like Wolves. And when I say Wolves, animalistic as Liverpool.
That's the next game. Wolves is actually our next game away, which is not an easy game.
So Martin, I guess, I think following off on what Ian is saying is, I know you said that you should have played a little differently against Palace, but is that possible? Is Mourinho?
We played against United, Man U, different.
But that was like way ahead in the season. If you see the number of goals you scored, it's right now. It's been 10 goals in the last 9 games.
Yeah. Not enough.
And so and that strategy, by the way, it works great against some teams who who like to even also come forward. But then when you talk about teams that are not, because Leicester also, their strategy is also to counter-attack. So it kind of becomes like you're not really using your strength as a bigger club, as a bigger squad, as a better squad than Leicester. You're kind of nullifying that by just doing the same tactics as a team like Leicester. So I guess my question is like, do you see Mourinho changing things in a way? I don't know, maybe if Bale is playing regularly, if there is somebody in midfield who is a creator, because right now you see Kane coming back to create, right? Like the whole, the new role that Harry Kane has. Now that's great to give you a numerical advantage in certain games when you're counter-attacking. But when you have a lot of the ball, then actually you want somebody else in midfield to create and you want Harry Kane to be at the end of chances. So I guess that's my question. Like, do you see Mourinho becoming more of a front foot manager against these teams?
No, I don't, and I think I think it will work at some point. It's just the next game. I'm also very worried about the Wolves game because they just lost the game and kind of undeservedly, where the referee made a few mistakes, and I think the coach of Wolves said that this referee should not be a referee again. So they'll be angry and they'll be angry. So they'll try probably to win this game, and it will be a difficult game for us. And listen, like there are some question marks. The Bale is a big question mark. Like what's going on with him, for sure. Because you kind of had expectations with this loan move that. Maybe that he won't be the Bale of old when he left Tottenham in 2014, but that he'll be still a very good player, and he barely plays right now. So.
But let me ask you a question. Is he barely playing? I don't think he's barely playing because of anything he's doing in practice. I think he's barely playing because of what Kane and Son have been doing on the field.
Yeah, so sure, but there's another roster spot that was occupied by Bergwijn, for example, against Liverpool.
But that again, it's like it's been working, even though Bergwijn hasn't scored. Like it's like sometimes because you guys scored and you got to the top of the league with Bergwijn starting, so why change it? That's like Liverpool taking out Firmino because he hasn't been scoring. They know what Firmino brings.
But I will say this about Bergwijn.
Firmino is instrumental in the way they move the ball. Bergwijn so far is missing chances, and Bale actually scored a game-winning goal against Brighton, and then he disappeared. So it's a mystery to me. Maybe he had COVID. I don't know. Maybe they didn't say it, and he had COVID, and that's why he got pulled for 2 weeks. Who knows? Maybe.
But I think one thing I want to say about Bergwijn. So this whole strategy of Jose, I actually think like that Liverpool game, it was an amazing, because if you see the lineups when they came out, Liverpool have, even with all these injuries, have around 6 or 7 world-class players on the lineup. Spurs have probably 2, like Kane and Son. Maybe Alderweireld in his prime was a world-class player, but I don't think he's world-class anymore. So you need to somehow do something to make up that disadvantage. So what the kind of system that Mourinho has, I think, is a good, it's kind of a cheat code to get around that. But the problem with that system is chances will be less. So it'll depend on world-class players like Kane and Son to get at the end of it. But it also puts a huge pressure on them to be clinical pretty much all the time. And the difference between the chance falling to Son and the chance falling to Bergwijn is a lot. The Son and Kane, the chance falling to them puts them on level with somebody like Liverpool.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
The chance falling to Bergwijn put them
Lucas Moura.
And that's huge. And that's huge. Yeah,
it's huge. So it's the way I thought it's gonna work. It will be Son on one on the left side, Bale on the right side, Kane in the middle. Then you may have Sissoko and Højbjerg and Ndombele in front of them. I mean, that looked to me like the best lineup, and somehow. No, Ndombele is being substituted always around 55th, 60th minute for whatever reason, and Bale never plays. So those are my question marks.
Well, this weekend he started Celso. He started Ndombele and his sub, and it didn't work out.
No, he needs those 2 bulldozers around him in Højbjerg and Sissoko, the guys who are doing the dirty work, and let him shine. That's the perfect lineup, in my opinion. And then you put Bale on the right side. I don't know. Maybe
he'll start putting Bale on the right side, on the left, or the where's Son? Son's left or right?
Son left.
Has Bale started any league games so far?
He did play. He did play 1, I think.
Was it the Brighton game?
No, the Brighton game. I think he came as a sub.
Yeah.
He played 1 game, I believe.
The
West Brom game, I think. One of them. I forgot which one it was. But he played, I think, 1 game. For sure, he played in the Europa League as well. Yeah.
All right.
Well, but there's something is wrong with him, for sure.
All right.
Well, he also hasn't played regular football, week in, week out football for almost 2 seasons now. So
yeah, no, something is wrong.
It's going to take a minute for him to get in there, and you got a whole season left, bro. So we'll see. And Mourinho, it's like every coach, to win the league, you have to make adjustments. The season when Conte won with Chelsea, he started the season one way, and then like some way after the 1/3 mark, he went to back 3. Completely changed it, and Mourinho has to figure that out. And that's just it.
I'll say one difference, though. One difference is Conte changed it to go back to what he was comfortable with. I think what we are seeing right now, if Mourinho has to change it, he's have to move away from something.
But what he has to do really is become the Chelsea that won the league under him, where you attack first. You get the goals, and then you sit back. So it's still within his realm. You know what I mean? It's and he has the firepower. Like you have the Bale, the Bergwijn, the Son, the Kane, the Ndombele, the Celso, the Lucas Moura. He's got it. So he's just got to be like
Vinicius. When Vinicius played in Europa League, he scored almost every game.
Yeah. So he's set. He just has
to have Dele Alli.
Yeah,
on the roster, I don't know what's happening.
Who actually played against Liverpool, and when he came on, they conceded a goal. So,
so he's just got to. He's
back in the bin.
Yeah, he's back in the bin. Oscar the Grouch.
By the way, nominated officially by FIFA to the list of 55 best players of the year.
FIFA's corrupt, and now we know why.
Oh my God, what?
You didn't see that? They put the list of 55 best players of the year, and Dele Alli was on the list.
Right.
And that's such an odd number to come up with. Like, who picks 55?
Yeah. Well, we got to keep it moving because we only got like less than 40 minutes left, and we're only at number 3, even though we're really at number 6. So Manchester United is 3rd in the league. We're a game in hand between the 2 teams ahead of us. So this feels beautiful for me. And what even feels more beautiful is the way we beat Leeds. Going into the game, I was worried, even though we have like a little winning streak going in the Premier League. But the thing I was worried about was, even though Pogba had a great game the game before with an assist, and he also started I think it was the third or second goal with a pivot turn on the people who were marking him to start our third goal against Sheffield United. I do remember seeing him lose the ball in our half, and in prior seasons when he's lost the ball in our half, like when you mark him and he shields the ball and then you send another player, he'll lose the ball, and teams have turned our gun on us using Pogba. So I was like, what is Solskjaer going to do to protect Pogba from making a mistake that would turn the fans against him? And Solskjaer answered that question by saying, I'm not going to play Pogba. That's what he did. And he put in this combination of Fred and McTominay, which has been getting bashed by Man U fans. They've been calling him McFred. They've been saying McFred does not work, and that's basically the United Stand, which is a Man United podcast that I follow. And the Gobridge is a great guy, and he's usually on point. But, fans are very emotional, and we only sometimes judge how Man United play by our wins, not by, what's really happening. And one advantage that Man U has is, how Spurs is going to play, right? You know how most teams in the league are going to play. You have no fucking idea what Solskjaer is going to do every week to week. And I'm happy for Solskjaer because he's been disrespected by the guys on ESPN on a regular basis. They don't believe he's good enough to be the coach of Manchester United. And it's weird because, everybody wants their team that they follow to be the new team, to be the team that brings out and creates the new Pep. But they are never willing to give a coach the chance to be the new Pep. And I'm not saying Solskjaer is going to be the new Pep, but he is the guy that coached the youth team, that was an ex-player, that won Champions League, and has gotten us kind of almost back to where we were under Ferguson. And he's going to make mistakes, has made mistakes, but he's learning. And it's like, why would you fire a guy that's learned so much and is learning more? And I'm not saying he's going to be Pep, but let's see the season out. Like I've always defended him, and sometimes he's pissed me off with his lineups. But what we did to Leeds felt fucking amazing. Even though, and I agree with the commentators, Leeds is so relentless that this is what the commentator said. I'm not going verbatim. When we scored the fifth goal, Leeds is so dangerous that when we scored the fifth goal, right, and it was in the 60-something minute, that's when the commentator was like, that's 3 points for Man United. Like, what other team do you play? You're up 6-1, and it takes you to go to 6-1 for the commentators to give you the points. Like, most games, you beat a team, you score the third goal, they're like, that's it, man, you got the points in the bag. Or Leeds, so fucking relentless. And I was terrified until we scored the sixth goal. That's only when I knew we'd probably win, probably. But Leeds, man, they're relentless. But also I watched the highlights over and over. And even though we think Leeds doesn't get tired, I realized that on the last 3 goals, at least 2 goals we scored, they were tired. They were worn out. And some of the players did give up. And that's what you got to do. And great plan by Solskjaer, great execution of the plan by Tomine, bombing forward. and Bruno, just the beautiful football, the football that was missing throughout the Mourinho era, the Van Gaal era, and the Moyes era. Like, to see goals like that you have to go watch like a Pep Barcelona team score is fucking amazing. Like I give top points, top player ratings to all the players, every single one. David De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, fucking McTominay, Marshall, who didn't score but set some up. Just go fucking the Welsh kid picked his head up and looked for passes, and they used, like, I did not agree with that lineup, but I can't argue with it after that result. So you guys can go.
Well, you know, as we said before, the being inconsistent is a problem, but it seems it's not just menu problem. It looked like it's just menu problem, but it doesn't look like it's just menu problem anymore. So let's see, you know, what they can do from here. You know, like, what's the realistic goal? They will have, you will guys have a very difficult opponent in the first round of the playoff in the Europa League, playing Real Sociedad, who used to be the leaders in La Liga a couple of weeks ago. Now they're a little bit cooled down, I think, because David Silva is injured, or he wasn't playing like a couple of games. But still, it's going to be a difficult game. So let's see what you can do. I don't even know if you should make Europa League as an important part of your schedule, or you should just focus on the Premier League.
You need. I'd rather win the League Cup. Like, it's the quarterfinals tomorrow. Get a trophy in the bag, and then we'll push from there. But we'll get to the quarterfinals. We'll know if we get to the quarterfinals of the League Cup before Europa League next year. So I'm not even tripping off that.
Yeah, and let's see if he figures out his best roster, his best lineup. Pogba wasn't playing last game. That also tells you something.
It just tells you that, listen, I thought he might be a problem if he started this game. And that there's, you know, it's either when Pogba has the ball, you get more support to Pogba, so he has a quick back pass. You know what I mean? But, and then I was watching Hasselbank. He was in the studio with Roy Keane, and Roy Keane was happy. And Hasselbank is like, well, you know, I can't do his accent, but he's typical. Did he play for Chelsea? Was he one of your guys?
Yeah, played for
Chelsea and Leeds.
And
both
Leeds.
Teams,
Leeds.
rivals of United.
Yeah,
he played
exactly.
From Middlesbrough too, right? He
Yeah.
played for Middlesbrough?
Yeah.
Maybe, but I know it was Leeds and Chelsea, and he's like all snobby and fucking Dutch, and I loved him as a player. But go fuck yourself, Hasselbank. He's like, well, they asked him what he thought after Keane, who's never happy with Man U results, is finally happy, and he's like, well, Man U, it's a good win, but I don't think they're title challengers because they only score. They can't break down teams, and they only got goals from the other team's mistakes. And I'm like, motherfucker, we created those mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Like, we pressed to get that first goal, right? The second goal was not a mistake. It was a throw-in, and we crisscrossed them. The corner, I rewatched the corner that Marshall flipped, and that's a practice fucking set play. Like, the only person in the box when that corner was kicked was Marshall. Everybody else from Man U was behind him. And then when the corner was kicked, he went towards the ball, and all of them flared out. And Lindelof picked up the position at the far post and tapped it in. So, Hasselbank, good luck, baby. You got thrashed.
Yeah, I think it was a good performance by the team and answered a lot of questions. Like, I think the issue that you're saying right earlier, you don't know what Solskjaer is going to come up with every game.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like a feature or a bug? Is that
both.
something?
It's well, here's the thing. It's unusual, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you guys won the league last time, your style that you eventually went to was completely unusual, but it revolutionized the league. What Klopp had did to win the title is unusual, but it revolutionized the league. Ali is like, it took he gets it right most of the time. You might not like how it looks, and there are times when he fails, but the time when he's picked like these, like the lineup with Mata in it against Everton when he needed that win, we got it. We were out of Champions League, but we needed to beat PSG. We needed to beat Leipzig, and you're talking about a guy who's being maligned, but he's beat some of the best coaches that everybody thinks is better than him. He's beat Pep. The only team he hasn't beat was Liverpool. Like, he's made them drop points. And maybe in his first season, he did beat Liverpool, but I'm not sure. But he's beat everybody you would consider a better team or a better coach than him. He's gotten points. And people just want him fired. So that's weird to me.
I think the reason is that, as you say, right, like last season, he got what he was asked to do. The season before that, of course, he got what he was asked to do because that's how he got the job full time.
Mm-hmm.
This season, I think, is again more or less like, get into the top four. I don't think care for a lot, maybe if you get a Europa League, you get it. But the importance of getting the Europa League is more about getting the Champions League spot rather than just winning a trophy. Because, see, with Leeds, we know the way Leeds play. Like, they're the most open team in the league right now, and that's both that can work for them or against them. When they come up against big teams like Liverpool,
but they almost beat Liverpool. They almost beat Chelsea. Like Chelsea, you did not game plan for them the way we did. Like,
no, I mean, I don't think they got anywhere near to beating us as much.
You guys won that game kind of late. They put it on you for a while. Like,
no, we won it 3-1. It's just that we made a mistake right away. So in the second minute, they got a goal. After that, they barely had.
No,
they didn't have a shot in the entire second half.
But they looked dangerous on you guys, and 3-1.
They looked dangerous for like a little bit of time. But that's also 3-1 with us missing like 3 or 4. That was the game where Werner was slandered the most because he missed so many chances. And that's the way Leeds play. He
blew one of Giroud's chances for sure.
He blew one of Giroud's chances. He missed one of his own, and then
but that's his thing. He missed
a couple of times.
He missed this week.
Yeah, we will come to that later. But but I mean, what I'm saying is, I think United, they have. It's not like Arteta where the manager doesn't know what's going on. I think Solskjaer has shown that he can be a competent manager at this level. The question is whether he can take you guys to the next level, which is, closing the gap to Manchester City, Liverpool at the top. But in terms of like the players, he has the players. In terms of the recruitment, he has been given, decent funds to recruit. We have a couple of more windows coming up. I guess the question is, and it comes down from the board level, right? Like, the fans can say a million things. None of these boards care for what fans say, especially in a scenario like this where there are no fans in the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
These guys don't care. So if they're backing the project, I think he gets another summer to go ahead with it. The problem happens when you see people like Pochettino on the market, you see people like Allegri on the market, you maybe see Thomas Tuchel on the market sometime. Then there might be a temptation to go for that proven, top level manager. But you can't fault Oli. Like, he's ticked pretty much every task that was given to him, and he's continuing to do so. And this is despite having issues with some of his star players. Like, ideally, a manager like Oli would like to have had, who I still feel is your best player, Paul Pogba, available, fit, and totally committed, and performing like what his reputation is. He doesn't have that. So I think given the tools that he has, he's doing.
Yeah, throw that in the mix. Throw that in the
Yeah.
mix. And also, there's something I was thinking about when you were talking. It's like so. Klopp, he got 4 years, and he's won a title in a major league, right?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you give the guy who's never won a major title in another league 4 years too, or at least 3?
No, but see,
Because he has more to learn.
But he has more to learn, and also like he doesn't have a reputation, so the fans are.
I know, but
I see that with Lampard too. Like, fans are very quick to jump on you. But when Liverpool was going through, starting troubles in under Klopp,
they were at a low point.
They were at a low point, so fans' expectations were like anything was an upgrade at that point. Mm-hmm. But also, you could also point at, hey, look at what Klopp did at Dortmund once he got some time. Look at what he did in Mainz.
But
with our managers, they don't have that.
But I know. But also, hey, like I said earlier, if you fans are so hilarious. Every team is like, how come we don't have a youth system? And so you can name some players that started in the youth system of some teams and were highly successful in the team that they started out as youth in. And every team wants that homegrown player. But none of the fans want to give homegrown players a chance. And it's the same thing all the time. And it's the same thing with the coaches. Everybody would like to say, that coach started on our youth team. And I said it before in this podcast, and now he's won the league. But you don't want to give that coach the chance. It's like, hey man, we're doing this. Right now, we're doing this. And this is what it is. If you're Ali out, fuck yourself. And let him lose the job. But right now, let him do what
the moment to lose the job was when you guys got eliminated from the Champions League. That was the moment, possibly.
Yeah, he's probably past that now.
But at the same time, it's more about how you guys played early in this Champions League, group, because technically you were in a group with the team that finished with 2 teams that finished in the top 4 of the Champions League last year. Mm-hmm. So you weren't the favorites, but the way it started, that you beat PSG away and won big against Leipzig at home, mm-hmm. That kind of changed the perception of the group, which technically you finished where you were supposed to finish, because the other 2 teams are ahead of you, were ahead of you in the last year, mm-hmm. judging by the Champions League. But I think still the fact that, and we talked about it, that the fact that the way he set up the team in Turkey in the crucial game, it pretty much weighed on the fact that you get eliminated, mm-hmm. moving forward. Like, that's the one game, I'm sure if there's one game in the entire season, or maybe even since he joined the club, mm-hmm. maybe since he got the job, if there's one game he would like to be played again,
right?
I think that's the game.
And re-roster that team. And that's where Ali's learning and he's experimenting. And I'm afraid when he experiments, but I also love when he experiments and it works out. And a coach that's not afraid to experiment when his job is on the line before he's established himself as a reliable person it's like, I'm using too many famous, successful people to compare him to. So I don't want people to be like, there's no way he's like this person. But when somebody exhibits the attribute of another great athlete or sports person, I have to take notice in that. And I keep going back to Kobe versus Utah in the playoffs when he shot the 3 air balls. It wasn't that he shot 3 air balls and they missed and they got swept. It was that he had the balls to do it, because you figure he would always get the skill to nail those shots. It's the balls to shoot it that most players don't have. And it's the balls for Ali to experiment is what most coaches don't take. And that keeps you from becoming a Sam Allardyce, you know what I mean? And makes you more likely to be on the path of a Klopp or a Pep. And that's all I'm saying. I'd rather have that.
I think he'll get this entire season, like a lot of these young, unproven managers. He'll get this entire season and he'll live. I think right now is too early to even decide either way. So
either way, yeah.
So because as you see, right, the table itself is in so much flux. Like the same ESPN FC that you're talking about that gives so much shit to Ollie. Yesterday they were discussing whether United are title contender or not.
Yeah, they were discussing it, but they barely gave Ollie any credit. I saw them. I was like, what are they going to say after the Leeds game? And they're so reluctant. And it's like, all right, you said he's not tactical. You shit on him. And it's so hilarious. And I like those guys. They're good. But man, and Steve Nicholas.
Sometimes when you back yourself to a corner on a certain stance,
you can.
It takes you a long time to get.
Ollie will win the title, and they'll say it's lucky. That's where those guys are.
Like imagine if Willian actually starts doing anything tomorrow. Like I'm gonna have to quit this podcast.
well, let's get to that because it's first of all, this is dinner for you guys because we talk about Everton, they're fourth. And they beat Arsenal 2-1. So you guys go. I'm not even going to say anything on this. You get to both trash Arsenal.
I mean, Everton beat a bottom place team. I mean, I'm really not surprised. And I seriously, like, at the beginning of the season, after a few games, my thought was that Arsenal will do well to match their 8th place finish from last time. And I think I was being optimistic because it's not just the results. A lot of times when you see certain results, like, I feel that a lot. Last year, I felt that a lot with Chelsea too. Like, we didn't get the results we deserve. But I think with Arsenal, they're playing like a bottom half team. And therefore, when you start games and play like a bottom half team, you are going to get these results. And I think for a long time last season, he actually got saved by having a super keeper and a super striker. And that can only take you, so far. Aubameyang, and he actually alluded to that. Did you see his press conference from, I think, a couple of days back?
No,
where Arteta comes out with these stats saying that, in basketball, if you take 50 shots and the other opponent takes 1 shot, you're gonna win every single time. In football, it doesn't happen that way. And then he comes up with these percentages that last year we were winning games even where we had 25% chance of winning, and now we are not winning those games. Then that's because we were so clinical last time. He's essentially exposing the problems with the system that was so dependent on one guy being, completely clinical. And now that guy's not,
But isn't that most systems?
No, a lot of systems, like, you're not that heavily dependent on this one guy. You create a lot, so then you're not completely dog shit when that guy misfires.
Arteta's problem then is what he inherited.
What he inherited is his team.
Like I said, Pepe, and
that's a good team.
And a bunch of kids.
It's not a good team at all.
And then he bought Willian, who you right now are right
I have to ask you, Neil. I have to ask you
that
before I get to my evaluation of Arsenal. But I have to ask you, Neil, because to be quite honest with you, I hate to admit when I'm wrong with something, And,
he does.
And I don't know what because I remember Willian being a key player for Chelsea. Like, what happened? You were right about him. Like, what happened? Why is he the most hated guy in Arsenal right now? Like, why everybody hates him so much?
No, but that's the thing.
What happened with that? Willian, tell me. Explain it to me.
Well, stop asking and he'll tell you.
So the thing with Willian is, even at Chelsea, right? He is the kind of player who will turn up for the odd game once in a while. And usually that happens to be the game which a lot of non-Chelsea fans watch. And it kind of creates this myth that but when you actually go by his record, this is a winger who has played opposite one of the most creative wingers the Premier League has seen, Eden Hazard. He's not hit 10 goal contribution. I'm not even talking about goals. He's not hit 10 goals plus assists in one season out of 7. And he's not scoring a lot. He's not creating a lot. What he does do well is, and that sometimes catches the eye, he's always running, he's always energetic, and he puts in a shift. Going back, which is okay for the team like which is okay for a team that needs that kind of defense. But when there's nobody else creating and or scoring, and you're brought in as this summer signing who's supposed to make a difference, how you're not going to have an impact. And so even in a best case scenario, I don't think Willian would have done anything to this team. And you're now seeing, without the support cast of Eden Hazard or the players we had last season who were putting in some of his goals, he's regressed. And I actually didn't think that was possible. I didn't think it was possible for Willian to be even worse than what he was at Chelsea. And a lot of these statistics, you remember the whole penalty debate we used to have. The problem with including penalties is within a stroke, you can take that away, and that's what's happened. Willian doesn't take penalties, and therefore his stats look way worse. And
I said I wasn't going to comment, but I lied, and but it's not to defend my old argument, but you just kind of like I said something to Martin this week. And Willian can fill a position that Arsenal really needs. So a position that he helped out a lot with in Chelsea, but never got the credit for. And I told Martin that Willian's problem is people are expecting assists and goals from him. Arteta has a defensive midfield problem. Why not drop Willian back to that position? Because
that's again a guess. Like, he's never played in that position his entire life.
But he's got the legs, like you said. He runs. I think
running on the flanks is different from doing a shift and.
But what else? But you need someone, and he's not producing going forward, and you need someone, and I just think when a player gets older, like any other player, you change position. Like, some forwards become fullbacks. Pirlo went from a 10 to the guy in front of the defense. Like, this is not a crazy thing. I just think.
But he can be a good right wing back, maybe. But again, like.
Yeah, even that. Like, and you, like, who's on you? Bellerin ain't shit.
Maitland-Niles, Bellerin, they try these different things.
They put him in defense, and then if he gives you something offensively.
But then again, like that's.
It doesn't have to be a waste of money.
Yeah, but that's the thing. When you get in somebody, unless you're a Messi or a Ronaldo, how often a manager is going to completely change their system for one guy?
Ashley Young, Valencia. I could keep
they changed their roles, but they didn't actually change the way they're playing. Like, for this to happen, what Arteta will have to do is to go back to a back three, which he only does like a few. He doesn't. That's not his standard.
Why can't he play a back four with Willian
as a fullback?
Yeah,
I don't know. If
I would start him as a back four, just to get him acclimated
and get him close to his restaurant partner.
Yeah. They communicate well. They have a repertoire and a menu. They should be good together.
Yeah, well, I think he's one of the most frustrating players. And I'll give you the flip side to this argument is that we don't have. So last season we were the worst among the bottom 3 teams in terms of scoring from set pieces and corners.
We need to get to Chelsea and Spurs, or we won't.
No, I mean, I didn't make my Arsenal argument because you guys.
Yeah. Sorry.
So, I know that the lawyer always has to be a very outspoken, so I gave him the field. But I will tell you one thing about Arsenal. Yeah, of course, as you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, Ian, that's the only thing that warmed my heart in the last week. Arsenal struggles, and actually they were absolutely horrific today against the Man City in the quarterfinal. They just got obliterated.
It's over for Arteta now.
It's over and it's not over, because here is the thing, like they're stepping on a very dangerous ground. They could be too bad to fire him. Like they could be too bad of a team to fire him, just because you risk that the team will go even deeper into the crisis when you bring the coach that is not the right coach. And the question is, who is the right coach? So and if you go deeper in that crisis, you can get relegated. It seems
Pochettino.
No, he'll never go. Never. They can try with someone like Allegri.
He said he'd never go to Barcelona. Then he tried to get the Barcelona job.
Yeah, I don't.
Dude, Jose Mourinho is at Spurs.
Yes,
I don't think that would happen. No, but he never said that he's not gonna go to Spurs. And there's
He did. He literally did in the press conference. He actually said, "I'm never gonna go to Spurs because Chelsea fans love me too much."
All right, but okay, let me say this though. I mean, maybe they will go with Tony Pulis, to save them from relegation. I don't know.
He's working. He's working on getting fired. He's busy working on getting fired.
They already called this guy Paella
in a lower league.
Yeah, I think definitely they're in a big problem right now. Because here's the thing. They have a bunch of young kids, and they also have a bunch of older players. Like they give huge contracts to Aubameyang and Willian. They're one of the highest paid players in the Premier League. They have David Luiz and some other older players, and then they have players who are too old, and they have players who are too young, but they don't have the players in their prime.
And they have players that are no good.
And there are players who are average, like Xhaka. You know that Xhaka. You heard that rumor that that both Barcelona and Real Madrid want him. Xhaka.
Is it Xhaka or Saka?
Xhaka.
Saka, right?
Yeah, but you know how they want him.
Saka, the midfielder.
Yeah. So both Real Madrid and Barcelona want him, but Barcelona want him to play for Real Madrid, and Real Madrid want him to play for Barcelona.
I was waiting for it. Like
I wasn't.
I knew Martin had some up his sleeve.
I don't even know if that's his joke. Is that yours? Where'd you get that?
Yeah, it's an old one.
It's an old one. Hilarious. All right, that was worth the wait. All right, so here's another toss-up for you guys. Chelsea is number 5, and we really got to go fast because Emma, who's producing the podcast, got shit to do. So Chelsea's 5. They just beat West Ham. The game was hideous, but that's what West Ham does. But you got 3 goals.
Yeah, I think.
And before I just want to ask you one thing. What do you think of Werner? Because he admitted that he's struggling, and he did struggle in this game.
I'm watching Werner lose confidence as he's playing the game.
But I will say this though: this game for Werner, he's in horrible form, in horrible finishing form.
Just finishing.
But at least this game, as opposed to the previous 2 games, he was at least involved. Like the last 2 games was with Everton and Wolves. It was almost like we were playing with 10 men because Werner was almost like he was not on the pitch. But this game, he did get involved. And I think the difference to that is, so Werner, as you've spoken even earlier, like he has to play on that left right now because we don't have 2 wingers that are fit. So he's playing on that left, but he's not a winger. So for him to do his job, he has to play off the left of a striker and come in centrally. For that, you need a mobile striker. Giroud is not that kind of guy. Giroud has a lot of qualities, but he's not a mobile striker. So when you play Werner along with Giroud, you kind of you're compromising completely on Werner. So the fact that when Tammy came back, you could see that Tammy was coming deep and he was able to get into those positions. So the thing with Werner is it's such a frustrating thing because you can see constantly he's getting into positions, he's making moves, he's starting offensive plays, but he just can't score right now. His finishing is so horrible. I think he's gonna get dropped the next game because I think the wingers are actually back fit. I won't be surprised if either Giroud or Tammy plays up front with 2 proper wingers, and Pulisic can now play on the left, and
or maybe he should play as a center forward then. Maybe he should play up front.
He can't displace Tammy and Giroud in this form right now. He's the third least in the pecking order right now. He's the most off form striker. So if you're playing him as a striker,
because he scored a lot of goals last season, like a lot of goals for Leipzig. So
I believe
I know. He's gonna be fine. I also don't think like he's been as bad as it's being portrayed, because if you look at him, he's played 14 games. He's got 4 goals, 4 assists. He won a couple of penalties. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's gonna be fine. That's on track to be a 25 goal contribution season. He's gonna be fine. But he's
more than Willian.
Oh yeah, Willian. That's 5 seasons of Willian. So, but he definitely needs a break right now. He's also played a lot. I think he's been the most among all our forwards. He's played the most minutes. So maybe take him out of the firing line for a while. We have other players who can do the job.
Yeah, you got other players who can miss goals.
Zuma scored like 4 goals, right? Are you surprised with that Zuma is scoring that many goals? And
our centre backs are more clinical than our forwards right now. And I think that's going to be the difference. Like if I look at Spurs and Liverpool right now, I think that's the biggest difference, is that our forwards have a lot of qualities, but they're not world class. So they're not going to be clinical enough. Which is why I don't think we can even think of having a title challenge this season, because I don't think that's going to happen. These guys are not going to be at that level by the end of this season. So, but I'm happy to see the way we played against West Ham. We got absolutely battered for like a 30-40 minute period in between. But despite that, they didn't have a shot on target. So the defense still, which was like both our backup fullbacks are playing right now. So I was a little worried about that. Emerson and Aspie, he's great defensively, but he doesn't have the legs. The defense kind of stood up to the test, because they kind of made it like a badminton game. It was just like long balls going up in the air, and it was like head table tennis happening. But I thought the back four stood up to the test well. A few shaky moments with Mendy again. Where he was
noticed.
He was just basically, when it becomes such a physical game, you want your keeper.
You got to get Kepa out of there. He's contaminated him.
Yeah, you need a keeper to give an outlet to the team and take the pressure off.
To not be near Kepa in training. That's what you need.
I guess so. But yeah, ultimately, and Tammy got 2 goals. I think he worked really hard throughout the game.
He did, and his movement was crazy.
His movement, like both those goals that he scored, it's not just that he scored the goals. If you see both those movements started with Tammy back in near the center line. So it was good to see him. Pulisic was great. He's not getting, I think the goals and assists will come. Yeah, I think the goals and assists will come. Like he's not getting that yet, but he's doing a lot.
Ignore the goals. Just watch Pulisic play and contribute.
Yeah, he's doing a lot. And Mount again, after a bad game last game, which was a blip, he again had a good game. I think this team is looking good. It's just that, can we be consistent enough to secure a comfortable top 4? I think we'll always be in the running as the table keeps going up and down. But I want us to get to place in the next 2 months where we can be comfortably in the top 4.
All right.
So, and that's I don't know how consistent we're going to be to do that.
Martin, you got anything you want to add to that?
Well, the 2 games they lost were kind of a little bit disturbing, because with the talent you have, you shouldn't have lost any of those games. And it's hard to say. I mean, definitely you're not at Liverpool level. Are you at top 14?
I don't think anybody is.
I wouldn't sign up 100%.
Liverpool ain't even Liverpool level.
Yeah, I wouldn't put all my money on Chelsea making top 4 at the end of the season. I will tell you that. I mean, I'm saying it can happen, but I wouldn't put all my money on it.
All right. Listen, I'm going to run through the table real quick just so we can end this, because Emma has to go. We already talked about Spurs when we talked about the Leicester game. So Spurs is 6. Southampton is 7th with 24 points. They're sliding down the table a little bit. Man City They're 8th, which is kind of weird, but they're scoring not that many goals, but their defending is getting better, and they have 23 points. Villa did it again. If the team that almost got relegated by a point is 9th after 12 games. They got 2 games in hand, and they're 9th. So that's bananas. West Ham, they're doing way better than they were doing last season. They're 10th. They have 21 points already. You just need 20 points. Like, it's normally 40 points and you're safe. 14 games in, they have 21 points. So West Ham, Moyes has halfway saved them already for the season with less than half the season played. Wolverhampton Wanderers, they slipped. They lost to Burnley. Coach was pissed with the ref and had some things to say. He just couldn't hold it in anymore. So we'll see what happens as a result of that. But they have 20 points, and they're in 11th. Newcastle, they tied with Fulham 1-1. Several of St. Maximum and another player has corona, so they're dealing with that, and those players are out. They keep feeling fatigued and sleepy after a half an hour walk. So that's what their symptoms are, and it's lasted a long time. So their players are out, but they're not doing bad. They're 12th. They're losing to Corona, but they're 12th. Crystal Palace, they're 13th. They got 18 points. Liverpool ran through them like diarrhea and embarrassed them this weekend. So we'll see what happens. Leeds, they're 14th after running into Manchester United. They have 17 points. And we just discussed Arsenal. They're 15th. The way we discussed them, or listening to you guys discuss them, feels like they're way less than in 15th place. But they're in 15th place with 14 points. They have less points than, or
I
they
think
have the same amount of points.
On form, I think the last 10 games, I think they're 20th.
Hilarious.
So
of course,
I don't think
nice one. Nice one.
And it's not just they're 20th in the points. They're like 19th or 18th or 20th on every stat you can think of.
Right.
Like
the last one.
Goals scored, chances created, shots on target, everything.
Damn. Arteta. I drank all my thing, or I pour something out for you. Burnley, they're 16th with 13 points. They climbed out the relegation zone. They beat Arsenal, and they're slowly but surely start to do their Burnley thing. And let's see if they can keep that up and climb even higher and further away from the relegation zone. Brighton Hove, my favorite team to hate and love. They're 17th, and they have 12 points. They salvaged a point against 10-man Sheffield United, who's at the bottom of the barrel, scrambling like crabs. But they got 1 point this week after almost not getting any. Fulham also got a point this week. They're 18th. They got 10 points. West Brom, they lost to Villa, and they most likely will lose this weekend. They're going to have a nice Christmas loss against Liverpool. But, maybe some surprise will happen, Scott, and Allardyce will go Route 1 and do something, but I doubt it. So they're 19th with 7 points, and Sheffield United, who had the chance to get 3 points this weekend, slipped up at the end of the game. Welbeck, drew Brighton Hove even. So Sheffield United, after 14 games, no games in hand, have 2 points. And the only bright spot is that they just got a draw, and they got Everton this weekend, which is not a bright spot. So that's it. Anything you guys want to say? Like, what's the big game this weekend?
Normally it would be Arsenal-Chelsea, but not in those circumstances.
I'm actually
unless Arteta will get fired after it. Maybe that's why it's gonna be a big game. But
despite what I said about Arsenal, I'm a little worried about this game because this always happens with Chelsea.
William,
couple of years,
big revenge.
Yeah, not just that. Like, we have made it a habit of facing teams that are on the brink of sacking their manager and going through a terrible form and losing to them. Like, so like it happened with Everton last season with, we had Duncan Ferguson, and it's, this always happens to us. I'm a little worried. I just hope like that'd be horrible. Like, you can't lose to Arsenal right now.
You might though. You might, and I hope you do.
Of course.
You might, and I hope you do. So we'll see. Like, Arsenal getting 3 points does not affect us in any shape or form.
Exactly. It's like getting Norwich. It was so much fun to see Norwich taking points of Man City last season.
Right, exactly.
And by the way, I'm gonna add, if you mentioned Norwich, that all the 3 teams that got relegated, they're pretty much at the top of the championship, which shows you, that it's a big gap between Premier League and Championship.
So, Martin, what you're saying is Arsenal can come right back 2 seasons from now.
I already said it. I already said it on the podcast last week to the Arsenal fan that they think they have a team to compete for the title next year. Yeah.
In the championship. It's pretty fucked up. Well, thank you, Martin.
Get that date in Wembley, baby. Championship playoff final.
Hopefully they can finish fourth.
You're not even saying that they could win the league. They'll get to the playoff final.
Playoff, number 3 is good.
Yeah, maybe they will finish 4th, but in the championship. That would be good.
You guys, London hates London.
Maybe they can have Wenger back for that 4th place game.
They should have never fired him.
Game, testimonial game or something.
And somebody made a comment, actually a pretty funny comment, when Man City kept scoring against Arsenal today, that Guardiola wants Arteta back as soon as possible as his assistant. That's why he kept scoring on him,
That's hilarious. Oh, that's funny. You know what else is funny? Oh, what else is ironic? It's like when Theo Walcott went from Arsenal to Everton and then to Southampton, you're like, man, he's winding down his career. What a fall from grace. But last week he was on a team that was 2nd in the league, and this week he's on a team
which is scored against
7th
Arsenal
in the league. Right. Like, Arsenal would love to be where Theo Walcott is right now. He wasn't good enough to play for them.
Well, they would love to have him on the team right now. I will tell you that.
Yeah.
And like they played Southampton, and Theo Walcott scored, and then they played Everton. Alex Iwobi got an assist.
Oh yeah.
And then next they play us, and hopefully Giroud does something. And then they play Kylian Gibbs at West Brom.
Oh shit! So they're just being haunted by their past.
Yeah,
possibly.
Bad karma from how they treated Wenger. I'll tell you that.
That'd be hilarious. Well, guys, thank you, Emma. Thank you, guys. Merry Christmas to y'all.
Merry Christmas,
everybody watching, and all the motherfucking holidays. Happy all of that to everyone. Be safe. Yeah. COVID is out there doing its thing. It's not a good thing, apparently. Hospitals are packed, and but let's all get through this. One love style. That's my vaccine. All right, y'all. 1.